Hello, good evening, everybody. It is Friday evening. I hope you've had a good day today. It's been absolutely stonking hot here in Dorset. I don't know what the weather's like where you are, but you are in the right place. So grab yourself a drink, whatever is your tipple on a Friday evening. This is our laid back Friday evening, speaking spiritually. And I'm absolutely delighted, beyond delighted, to welcome the fantastic Keith Charles here this evening. Hi, Keith. How are you doing?
Hi, Ashley. I'm great. How are you?
Really, really good. It's
good.
Gosh, it's fab to have you on here, and I know that people have been very excited to see that you were going to be on here this evening. So we were just saying it's the other end of the camera because lots of people will know Keith from Keith Charles Investigates and giving mediums and healers and people from all different walks of life in this spiritual pathway. I'm not going to say a hard time, but you do ask the really good questions. So
I think I try and I don't mind because I think I try and ask the questions that lots of people are thinking they would like to ask and think I can't ask that. Yeah. And I've got to be honest. The people that I speak to are people that I wouldn't invite them on if I know they can't take a question. It's no good you saying, "Oh, Ashley, would you like to come on my program?" You go, "You can, Keith, but don't ask me A, don't ask me B, don't ask me C." So it's like, okay, so. Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
No, it's a really, really good program. And do you know what? One of the many things that has fallen out of this lockdown is that we've had to innovate, and the spirit world love it when we innovate and do things differently. So very much appreciated. I just must mention a couple of names. Hello to Debbie. Yes, Debbie is super hot. Whatever you're doing, have the windows and doors open. Hello to Lorna Gray, Penny, to lovely Jackie Gunningham. Hello, Jackie, another one of the Spirit Quest family. Hello, Jackie. Lovely to have you with us. Hello to Graham, and hello to everybody who is watching this on replay or catch up. It's really good to have you with us. Okay, make sure you put your name in the box to say hello so that we can say hello to you. And don't forget, if you have any questions for Keith, now is your time to ask your questions of Keith Charles and his long career with Spirit, and also what he's up to at the moment and plans for the future. So make sure you put those questions and comments in. Amazing. So I'm going to kick off this evening. I do have my torch. It is not a red flashing light, but we are going to do... We are going to do Under the Spotlight, but I'm going to save that because there's some real humdingers of questions there. I've trawled the archives to put some of your own questions back to you, so I'm very much looking forward to that. So I'm going to start off. The very first question is, how did your spiritual journey start? Because everyone will know from kind of reading your bio that you were a police officer for many years, career police officer, absolutely loved the job that you did. When did you get your first inkling that Spirit were knocking at your door wanting to work with you?
My first experience of weird things, that's the only way I could put it, was I went to a place called Black Rock Swimming Pool, which is near Brighton Marina, and it used to be a huge swimming pool. And I went with my aunt and her son Ross and my aunt. So there was two aunts, and one of them had a son called Ross, and he was probably about 18 months. And it was always packed. And I was sat down having a sandwich or whatever it was, and suddenly the cry went up, "Oh, where's Ross? Where's Ross?" And he was like toddling age, 18 months, 2 years. And I'm just sitting there eating a sandwich, and this voice, like a very admonishing head teacher, said, "He's over there." And I had this kind of compunction to go over, and he was laying on the water, only, I'm going to say 12 inches, laying on his back. And I picked him up, and he coughed and spluttered and took him back. The ironic thing was he went on to be a Sussex swimmer. He did really well. But that was my first thing. Then I had a few experiences as a child of having dreams that were coming true. And one of the things that I had, we moved to Crawley, and it was a new town then, in those times, 1958, but it was a new town then near Gatwick. And I had this dream that I would find 5p. Now, in those days, it was a threepenny bit and 2 pennies. For the people that my age would remember it, for other people, say there's no such thing as 5p, it was silver and all that. But anyway, I was running round by the back of the shops, and I had my dream. It was like that deja vu, and it's like, stop, look down there. And there was a white paper bag with 5p in it. Just enough money to buy some chips. So I went in, and I got, so that was those little things. And then I'm rapidly going through this, but then I met my first, if you like, my first guy, the imaginary child that people think about, you know, but mine was real. And his name was Norman. I can tell you what he looked like. He was around about my age. And I said, oh, come on. I said, John. And he had these, like, you remember, I called him Bobby Shafto because, you know, like silver buckles on my knee. He literally was dressed like that with black shoes. And I took him, or I said to him, what's your name? He said, Norman. I said, do you want to come and play football? And he said, what's football?
Oh, brilliant.
So he came down to around the square, if you like, where I went. And I said to my friends, oh, this is Norman. And they said, who? So I said, Norman. And they said, oh, just getting goal, fatty. You know, it's like he wasn't there to them, but he was to me. So that was my childhood of starting things.
Fantastic. Brilliant. And in true police officer style, you have answered the question I asked, and you haven't given me any more than that. This is going to be so much fun. And you know what? I must just say, I love the way that you ask questions. And I'm going to ask whether you have the same approach with your spirit team. Do your spirit team give you, because I know obviously there's ways to get evidence and ways to ask questions. Has that really played a significant impact in the way that your spirit team communicate with you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think if people say to me, I can compare this to my career as a policeman and my career as a medium, because my life, I have spent 30 odd years as a policeman. 99% of that was as an investigator. And that was all sorts of things, like it could be, sorry to say this, but it'd be sexual offences, murders, robberies, you name it. I've investigated it, not in any arrogant way, but that's your job. You know, lots of people do that, you know. And it's like if you're a nurse, I only use give you a comparison. You got to help somebody who's in bed. You got to give their temperature, whether they've had a heart bypass or if they've had a leg sorted out, or, you know. So I'm just saying, as a policeman, you do investigate them things. So I've always looked for evidence. Now, not being clever, I'm just going to give what evidence is. Evidence is something that tends to prove or, and this is important, disprove something. So when I deal, I'm always searching through my spirit connections. Who are you? What are you doing? Where do you live? It's the normal thing. It's the normal thing for me, but not natural to somebody like yourself who's not been an investigator, who is then going to be a medium, if that makes sense to you, Ashley. I don't mean that rude. It's like, it's second nature to me. And people used to say to me, you can't ask them that. I said, you can ask them anything. They don't have to answer, you know. And if somebody says, and this is a thing that I've said, I've done it with spirit. I do it all the time. And I don't think it's unfair. I was at a theatre, and it was just after things had been on telly about don't tell a medium, nothing, you know, ask them that, you know, you sit there, you don't say anything, and then you say, I've got your mum. What's her name then? Everybody was doing this, you know, and I don't think that's unfair. If I said I've got a lady, here's your mum, you go, what's her name then? Don't give me all this toffee about, oh, she's not telling you. You have to work harder at it. That's what I'm saying. So if I upset people, I do apologise. But if we want to be good about what we do, and if I come to you and say to you, how do you make a bacon sandwich? And you're a cook, I'd expect you to tell me. So that's my, if you like, that's my balance with it. So yes, I ask spirit. I ask them a lot more. I ask the communicators what you want. If you don't get it, at least you've tried. you know, and that's my thing. And I think there's lots of people that I've worked with and different mediums, and you've noticed through Spirit Quest, there's no animosity between the mediums. You know, we all stand there, we have a laugh and a joke, and I can turn around and say, we'll mention the name Billy Cook. Here, Billy, how did you get that? How did that work for you? Or Bill Rich or John Taylor, whoever it might be. We talk, and that's where you learn from. The more questions you ask, the more you learn. I can't say to you, Ashley, can you tell me how to get to Weymouth Station, if I don't ask you?
Yeah.
I spend all night looking for it, wouldn't I? But if I said to you, where to go? You go, turn right, it's down on the left, Keith. Thank you very much. So I hope that is a basic way of explaining to me. Yeah, ask.
Fantastic. No, it's really good. And like you say, something which is second nature to you. And it's interesting watching you talk to people, and you there's a clip. In fact, I'm going to put it on the chat here if people haven't seen it. You very kindly sent me a little clip of your work as a psychic investigator and some work you've done over in Philadelphia, which was fascinating. And actually at the end of that, there was a little private sitting that you were delivering. And as I was watching it, because I've worked in the public sector for many years, and I was watching it thinking, it's interesting how the overlay between your police career and all of the skills that you develop as a result of being a police officer and investigator and your mediumistic career kind of enmeshing together. And I was wondering, do you have any advice for all of the people out there that work in the public sector, whether that, like you've mentioned, nurses or police officers that come into contact with people and who probably wish to serve? That's why you go into those jobs, and are starting to feel the presence of some intuition or otherness. How do you manage that? How do you manage that?
Well, the funny thing was, I have to bring my police career into this, because if you remember, policemen are very cynical. They always will be. So when I declared that I was a detective, working as a detective, that was obvious, but it wasn't obvious that I'm now a psychic medium, you know, that people. So I had to tell my boss what I did, and I told him, and then it went round the station, and everybody would walk in with a bit of paper, you know, typical, you know, anybody who works in an office or they're either going for something because they want something, then a bit of paper could be blank, right? But they come and go, you're a psychic, and yeah, what'd you get for me then? And that was driving me mad, you know, doing it all the time. So I would do one, I would do two, and then other people come and say, oh, did you get anything? And say, no, ask Ashley, I gave her a read, and ask somebody else, you know, because then they would go. But people that are getting their feelings, they, like we've discussed before, people don't like openly coming out and saying, just for instance, they wouldn't do this 20, 30 years ago. Are you gay? Right? But today, life's moved on, hasn't it? So if you said, Keith, look, I think I'm a bit funny, and you go, what's that then, Ashley? You say, well, I keep getting these things happening to me. How do I go around it? How do I do it? Practice is a good way. You write little things down. You find out where things are. And like I said, evidence, you'll find out that maybe you were wrong, which is good, because when you find out things that are wrong, like going to Weymouth Station, if I've gone the wrong way, I'm never going to find it. I've missed the train. Well, I won't do that again, you know? So when you're doing things, and the press that I've interviewed with the press and whoever it might be, they always have got a little catch for you, or they used to have, you know, they got this little up their sleeve. They got a question like you might have tonight, you know, that you're going to say, look, I'm going to throw this winger in for him or whatever. Be prepared. We've got, in this day and age, we have got people that we've got a multi-billion business going out here called the psychic world, if you like, whether you're into unicorns or frogs or aliens or whatever it might be, I don't care, right? But you've got to realize somebody who's coming to sit you for a reading might just have a little tape recorder in their pocket, who just want to know what it's at. Oh, you're lovely, Ashley. That's really not. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, you got my mum. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. And then you get into this trap of answering it and you go, thanks very much. Oh, yeah. And you go outside and say, Mum, I've just seen this woman out here. She reckons you're dead. And then it goes in the press and people are destroyed by it. So I'm just saying to you, just be a little bit careful. And everybody who comes to you for a reading is not coming to you for a good thing. You know, that's what my experience has taught me. Generally, people 9 out of 10 will be good. But if you've got a little inclination, go with it. If you've got a little thing like, have you ever, I'll give you a quick example.
Okay.
My wife was coming to pick me up from the station, right? Because I was getting the train to go home. I don't drive after my stroke, but she came to pick me up and she said, Keith, she said, I got out the station and she was there. She said, Keith, I've got to tell you, she said, when I got in the car to come to the station, this little voice said to me, this inner self said, lock the door.
Oh.
So she came to at the car park. It was about 11:30 at night outside the station. A man tried to get in to what would have been my passenger seat, but luckily she had locked it. And the man had a drink. I'm sure he wasn't, you know, untoward in that way, but it would have frightened the life out of a woman on her own with a stranger getting in there, you know, into their car. So lots of you who are listening today, and you've had little things that can be forewarning you something, or have I locked the door? We all do it, you know. It's kind of little things like that. So I hope that answers the question. A long way of doing it, but I hope that it does.
Lovely, thank you. So if I may, I'd like to bring up the subject before we kind of leave your 30 years in the police behind. And you mentioned the kind of, before we came on air and we were having a little chat around the kind of psychic cop, the psychic detective. And I'd like to ask just really for a point of clarification, because there are, especially in America, there are loads of people, and hello to everyone who's watching from America and US. There are loads of people calling themselves psychic detectives, but actually we would call them they're civilian mediums. They aren't police officers. So do you get a massively different response from the fact that you
I get a bit frustrated with it. Right, okay. I get a bit frustrated, and I'll tell you why. And people might think I'm being arrogant. I can't help it. All right. I say this. You will get lots of people and they will say, I'm a psychic detective. And you go, fine. What experience have you got as a detective? What experience have you got as a detective? I had to go through years of learning to be a detective, how to deal with it, how to gather evidence, how to do with it. So I get a little bit frustrated when you get people say, yeah, I had a lady contact me about 2 months ago. To give you an example, she said, yeah, she said, I know a lady had somebody pass away in nasty circumstances, and I knew exactly where this body was. So I said, oh, that's nice. So I said, did you get the name? Did you get? No, I knew it was near trees. So I said, yeah. I said, where were the trees? So I don't know. I said, well, what county was it in? Oh, I don't know. So where has the detective gone into that? What happened, how it came with me, I'm a healthy skeptic. I really am, even today. And that keeps my feet on the ground. It really does. And what happened was, I believe that when I'd been a policeman for 10 years, roughly, when my mediumship head flared and I started to get really into it, you know. I've always had this interest, but I'm just saying. So I thought, do you know what? If I'm doing this and if I really am psychic, why don't I try and use it with crime, which is what I do. So I started thinking, how can I do this? And what I still do this now. And if you get in touch with any detectives that I've worked with, they will tell you my practice is the same. And that is this. I ask, you're now the investigator. Okay. I don't want to know anything what you're doing. I do not want to know what you're doing, because I tell you what will happen. This is an example. We'll reverse the roles. You're the psychic. Okay. I'm the detective, right? Hi, Ashley. I'm dealing with a 24-year-old man whose head was hit with a brick. His body was cut up and he was thrown in the river. What can you give me now? I've told you everything.
Yeah.
how I work is, and I practice this, and people can do this at home, get a friend to put a picture in an envelope or a story in an envelope, and don't tell them anything. Okay? So I started off and I would put pictures in there. My first wife, who passed on with his COVID, and she would put things in an envelope. I didn't want to know what they were. And it was going quite well till one day I got this and I said, cool, I'm seeing this girl in a bikini. I said, she's got blonde hair, she's got big boobs. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I'm saying this to my wife.
It's Friday night.
She's going, Keith, what are you doing? I said, oh, yeah, I've got in this. I said, and I can see darts being played. She said, Keith, you're totally wrong. Totally wrong. I said, oh, okay. So she opened it, and on the picture, there was a picture of somebody who was missing, a missing man, right? So I don't know why I didn't get that. So I put it down. On the back, there was a girl in a bikini who was presenting a darts competition winner with a cup. So obviously you can see where my mind went, didn't you? but I'm just saying,
had the option.
yeah. But I'm just saying, it's kind of like you have to keep practicing. So when I go and see detectives now, I don't ask for anything. They give me an envelope. I will do whatever I can with that 20 minutes, roughly. And I'll say, right, can I open the envelope? And they say, yeah. Or if it's wrong, they will say, Keith, no, you're completely wrong. Thank God that doesn't happen very often. It's happened. Of course it has. All right. But that's how I work. Now, when you watch programs about, and I won't mention names, not in about the UK, I'm talking about America, that I know certain things over there. And one of them might be featured in one of my investigations with somebody who was son was killed. So I'm just saying, they are given the opposite around. They are given all the information. So, for instance, I will not get involved with any case that people have not. I always say this to the police, or if you say to me, Keith, a friend of mine, they lost their son or whatever, I say, would you get something? I say, no. Ask. I will speak to the parents and say, can I have permission to do this? Because too many people will say, Maddie, for instance, right? Yeah. The police, and I've had it from the police receiving side. You get thousands of people phoning up and saying, you'll find the body in water. Where? Oh, I don't know. But so the police have to investigate this. And I think that each and every one of us have the ability, if we are mediumistic, we have got the ability to enhance our gifts by practice. Gordon Higginson once said to me, I said to Gordon, I said, how do I get to be as good as you? He said, practice, you know, and that's what we have to do. So that's how it works for me. And I've done it for people on the telephone. That I've worked with Australians on the phone. I've been working with Canadian. Well, I've been to Canada, but I'm saying I've done it on the phone. I've done it for Belgium, for lots of places, because the first thing I always say is, don't tell me anything. Don't tell me anything, because you give an awful lot of information about. If you come to see me for a reading and say, Keith, can I come for a reading? You go, yeah. And I'm making this up, Ashley. You don't have a twin sister, do you? No. Okay, just say, Keith, I really want to. My twin sister passed in a road accident. You've given me everything to look for now. You know, you've given it to me. So I want to prove to you I'm talking to your twin sister. I want to tell you what she looked like. I want to tell you how she passed. I want to tell you when she passed, what time she passed, how she passed, whether she's got a scar on her shoulder, whether she's got short hair, black hair, was she killed the day before her birthday? All these sort of information goes up to say to you, do you know what? I don't know how he knew that, because I still say to this, and if my wife was sat next to her, she would tell you, I often say to her, I don't know where I get it from sometimes. She said, well, if you don't, Keith, nobody does. What I mean by that is you might start off in a message of talking about your twin sister, and I'll end up talking about somebody completely different. You go, oh, my God, Keith, that was my best pal from school. This happened, that happened. Do you know what I mean? So you can't go there with a script. mediums stand on a platform, whether it be in a church, whether it be in somebody's front room, whether it be in a theatre before 1,000 people, with no script. No script. All your comedians have got a script. You know, everybody's got a script. I'm talking to you without a script. You've got a script of some sort tonight, okay? All I'm saying is, if your truth is the truth, it will always be the truth. So I'll get off my soapbox, but I'm just explaining to you, Ashley, that's how it works for me.
Lovely. That's brilliant. Because do you know what? There's such a misunderstanding out there about what it is that's actually involved. And I just wanted to make the point of clarification that you are a spiritual medium that has the benefit or the serendipity of actually having the training of how to ask the right questions, but you're not someone who goes and uses a Google map or a pendulum over something, or does any kind of remote viewing, or does that come into it as well? Or is it purely spirit talking to you, that the spirit of the deceased person is talking to you?
I have had, funny, because you get some people that ask you for different things. Probably because I was on Sky Sports once, right? And they asked me to tell me who's going to win the FA Cup a year later, right? And I did. And it was when Ian Botham was doing one of his walks, and they said, okay, Corals, just to name a betting shop, said, okay, we'll give you £50 in a charity bet for him. So I said, okay, well, Everton will win 33-1, and they did, and they got money. So it's not something that you're doing in that way. Do you know what I mean? But I've had people get in touch and said, oh, Keith, who's going to win the cup next year? You know, because they won't do it for a different reason. I had a man, you talk about a map, got in touch with me, and he was a deep sea diver who was going out getting treasure trove and that sort of thing. And he said, if I come and see you with a map, he said, can you tell me where this is? Because we've been looking for years. Do you understand what I mean? Yeah. So, no, I don't do it that way. What I do when I go to different areas, if you're the investigator, I will tell you everything I get. But what I do want to do when it happens is I will say, can I go to the scene and can I go for a walk around there? And it kind of like just reinforces what I've said. And I've had so much fun and experience, and I've met so many people that kind of, I love not in an arrogant way, I love the fact that they're a little bit, how'd you do that? How did you get that? How did you get it? You know, because they then go away and they say, I'll give you a quick example. Sorry. I was talking, doing a job with my envelope. And as I'm talking, there was two detectives sat opposite me and they didn't move. They were like this. And the chief was sat over there. So anyway, as I'm talking, I said, oh, by the way, your grandmother's sorry that you had to travel all the way up there to see her for her funeral.
Wow.
He said, sorry, the plane journey wasn't very good. Sorry, I'll carry on to this now, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, when they come up, this detective said to me, the chief detective said, how'd you do this, Keith? He said, how'd you do this? He said, because those two detectives are sat here to see what tricks you use. So he said to this other detective, he said, tell him where you were last week. He said, I had to go up to Maine because my grandmother died and I went to the funeral and we had a terrible journey on the plane. So it's kind of like, not to say how clever you are, Keith, because it's not, because I've had bad nights too. You know, you kind of get things off key. Do you know what I mean? You do. So don't think I'm superstar. Certainly not. And remember this, as I will tell 1,000 people and 1,000 more, you're only as good as your last message.
Yeah.
And if your last message was rubbish, then practice so that you get it. And go back to yourself and say, why didn't I get that right? Don't blame it on the sitter. Do not blame it on the sitter. Blame it on yourself. Look in there and say, did I do it right? Did I spend enough time preparing myself for this? Did I do enough? And people say, and this is where people go wrong. When I do my detective stuff, I always say to people, make notes, because there'll be something you talk about 2 hours later. I can't remember what your third question was to me. I can't remember, right? But so how is it I can remember when we're doing a reading with somebody what you said 40 minutes ago?
Exactly.
If you're really linking with spirit.
Yeah.
So don't want to drag you away from what we're talking about, Ashley, but I hope that makes sense as to how it works for me and what my belief is, because there are too many people who say, yeah, I do psychic detective work. Okay, tell me, this sounds what it is. I give you the names and addresses of detectives I've seen who will tell you how I've worked. You've seen it on the phone. Sorry, not on the phone, on the video, you know? So I don't mind doing that. Don't tell me you're a good medium, right? I love to see you're a good medium. You don't need to tell people you're good. You don't, because I always fear that if you say I'm good, it won't happen again tomorrow, because spirits say, hang on, you're not behaving properly. Do you know what I mean? It's the same with you, isn't it? If you've got children or whatever, you say, when you go out, say please and thank you to people, and they say, aren't they good children? And when they get home, you say, oh, you've been a little so-and-so all day long. Do you know what I mean? But you're so nice when you're with Auntie Mary or whatever. Well, I believe spirit work like that with us. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
That if you're taught properly, your real truth comes out when you're working. And if you've done it wrong, say you've done it wrong. And that teaches you to grow. You grow spiritually, you grow as a person, and you help others. I've got grandchildren that they raised from 7 to 17. They will tell you, I never tell them a lie. And the best answer I had I've got 4 grandchildren, 3 are girls, 1's a boy. And I said to the boy one, I said, I've never lied to you, have I? And do you know what his answer was? I wouldn't know, Grandad, would I? And I thought, what a great answer. What a great answer. You know, because that is the truth, isn't it? His truth wasn't saying, no, Grandad. It was like, well, I wouldn't know, Grandad, would I? You know, so I digress.
No, I think it's wonderful. And like you say, just that ability to be really straight. And what I love is the real feet on the ground and listening to you talk, and the lovely talks that you do on a Wednesday with Lawrence. And it's a real feet on the ground approach to this understanding. Like you say, it's not kind of unicorns and rainbows. It's very feet on the ground and acknowledging the healing that happens. So thank you for all of that work that you're doing. I don't want to kind of like do a bit of a ham-fisted segue here, but I don't have my own red torch. All I have is this flashing one, which isn't anywhere as good as yours. This is the point in the show that normally Keith would do his Under the Spotlight, which is meant to be a bit of light-hearted fun. So, Keith, if you're ready, you will know the answers to all of these 10 questions. I'm going to ask you 10 questions now in quick fire. Okay. You are under the spotlight. So, first question, favorite TV cop?
I would say, if you remember it, the old days was Jeepers. He's with Dennis Waterman and the other fellow. I've forgotten it because no, he's Minder, but I forgot the name of the. Sweeney. Sorry, wow. The Sweeney. Yeah. It took me a while, but you have to put my brain. That is the Sweeney.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, without doing your own leg, Sunday service or Saturday night dem?
Saturday night dem.
Yeah, they felt like there was a but coming there.
Well, but that is for the masses. I love what you've just mentioned just now, keeping your feet on the ground. You know, doing a church service. That's where I started. That's where I do both. But if you ask me what I enjoy, I get a kick because I have to work harder. Believe it or not, I have to work harder because I spend much more time, and this sounds wrong, I do apologize, but I spend much more time in getting there. And what I mean by that is when you're going to, I've got to be prepared for where I'm going, what time it is, where I am. I have to do with the lights. If we're doing it, we're not doing them as in a theatre. What I'm talking about as in a theatre, but I feel that when you have got a Sunday morning service, you can actually connect more with the people. There are different people that go on a Saturday night dem, and you probably see that if you're running a church. You would go, oh, we only see them on a Saturday night. Don't see them on a Sunday, when, if you like, the grassroots are there. So for me, I think we all have different aspects of our mediumship. Mine is, I don't mind people taking the mickey out of me in front of 100 people. I really don't, because it means, because when I was in the police and they were taking the mickey out of me, it means they're acknowledging what I do and they're having a look at it. And if being sarcastic to them, you know, if they're being sarcastic to me, it's made an impression because they've thought about asking that question, even if that's a load of rubbish. Sorry.
No, that's lovely. Thank you. That was a tough question. I didn't want to do your legs. I was aware of that as well.
No, you can't do my legs.
Okay, you are naming a police dog after your favourite colour and your favourite drink.
My favourite, what was the first bit?
Favourite colour, favourite drink.
Orange brandy.
That's the name of the police dog. Very nice, very nice. Who would play you in your life story?
Who would play me?
Yeah.
Probably if I had somebody who was fresh, and when I say fresh, who doesn't mind taking the chip off the old chip off the shoulder and look at it. I tell you, somebody probably do it quite well is the Irish lad who does the interviews, and he's not really I forgot his blooming name, on a Saturday night, you know, Graham Norton.
Graham Norton.
Yeah, because I think he has got that sort of, I could have gone on his show once, but anyway, I'm just saying he's got that kind of cheeky, impish seriousness. Do you know what I mean? He can say to you, "You're really nice, Ashley, but you could be a cow," and you don't get offended. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
and I do apologise for saying that, but I hope it explains what I was saying. Do you know what I mean? So
absolutely, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just moving to the far worse set of questions. Hang on a second. Okay.
No, you're fine.
What's your pet peeve?
Your
pet peeve. What irritates you? What peeves you? Your pet peeve.
I think bad manners.
Ooh, that's a good one. Covers a lot of things. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. Okay. What makes your hair stand on end? What is a brilliant message for you? What do you look for?
If I said this to you, being truthful. So every time I give a message, I'm not the one to judge on my message, because I give the same amount of effort and work, whether they say, "Keith, we've only got 5 minutes." I ignore that. You know, if you're the chairperson, say, "Keith, we've got 5 minutes." If it means I've got to be 10 minutes because that's what Spirit want, that's what I get. But I would not give one message for an hour and a half at your church, because that's really good. Oh, I've got to keep going. I've got to keep. No, you don't. Do you see what I mean? But what makes me, and I can only say this is going to be upset a few people. People that lie in church annoys me, puts my shekels up, you know. Especially if you're trying to score points off another medium or another healer or another member of the congregation. You know, I've heard some most awful things, Ashley, like, my guide's going to go down and kiss your guide's going to go down and kiss my guide's feet. What a load of tosh. I'm just saying, you know, and that I just cannot do. You know, don't tell me how good you are. Don't tell me how good you are. That makes my shekels go up too. But because we are all a vessel. We are all a vessel. And I'm telling you in a very nice way, the most simplest thing, and I can only use my wife again. I was doing a workshop and it was half time. It was dinner. My wife was sitting at the back of the church. She wasn't sort of involved. She was just there. And she went out. I saw her go over and speak to a lady just as we were going to dinner. And this woman started crying. She was really... So I said, "What did you say to her?" She said, "Well, I was sat there and I just had this lady say, 'Would you go and say to my daughter, happy birthday?'"
Oh.
And she went home and said, sorry, your mum wants to say happy birthday.
Mm.
That was just one
Perfect.
sentence.
Yeah.
And that just so honest and so true. What she did not want anything else.
Yeah.
She did not want anything else.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, they're my
lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. You have 10 minutes to have a cup of tea and a chat with anyone. Who would it be?
I think I've spoken to a lot of people that I'd like to be, but to be honest, all the ones that are in heaven now, my mum and dad, my brother, you know, those that, but then again, I'd have to say, no, I don't want that, because 10 minutes wouldn't be enough. So if I could talk to anyone, I would probably want to speak to somebody like Pontius Pilate.
Wow, that is a left field answer. I wasn't expecting that. That is
somebody like Pontius Pilate.
Wow.
Hmm.
Gosh, that's taken the wind out my sails a bit. That's a great
Sorry.
That was a great answer. And these disarming answers. I love it. I love it. I love it. How do you relax? I know you're a busy man and you are very busy, but how do you relax, Keith Charles?
I relax because for years I've owned greyhound races, and I love greyhound racing. Let's not get into the cruelty side. I'm just saying, because I won't get into that, but I'm just saying, and talking to my family. And I will say this, I have 3 sons, Matthew, who lives in heaven, and 2 that are on this earth now. Matthew would have been a better medium than me. I can guarantee that. When he was 13-ish, he had to make a statement to the police because my investigator said, my boss who was investigating the certain case said, I want a statement from him. How did he get all this information? So that was that. My other 2 brothers, his 2 brothers, should I say, they can take it or leave it. They can take it or leave it, what I do. And that is the best compliment I can give my kids. It's like they've got their own free will and their own choice, you know? So I'm very, very protective of my friends, of my family, and of people that I feel I can help them if they want it, because not everybody wants your help because they think you're being a cocky sod or you're being this or you're being that. So I'm very loyal. So that's something. So I relax watching my dogs run, talking to my kids or talking to my family. Talking, as you can see, is like no problem for me. Sorry.
No, that's great. That's great. And what is your guilty pleasure in life, Keith Charles?
Loving my wife, to be honest.
Oh, that's lovely. You put some amazing posts on. I must admit, you're setting the bar very high.
Well, you can see, my wife saved my life when I had my first stroke. She's been my everything. She has gone through sepsis. She's got balance issues at the moment. I'm not going into things, but the one that she lifts up is me. She does it all the time. And I'll just say this, I don't care, I'll tell you everything. I was invited to go on the television program, The Ultimate Psychic Challenge. And they phoned me up after they've been doing it. They've been around seeing a lot of people. And they phoned me up and they said, Keith, we've been doing this, that, and the other. Would you do it? So I said, can I phone you back? They went, yeah. So I said, Chris, because that's my wife's name. I remembered that name. Anyway, I said, Chris, I said, they've asked me if I don't know if I can do that. And she said, Keith, she said, spirit won't let you down. And I thought, my goodness, why am I asking my wife to tell me how much she trusts spirit? I should be saying, I trust spirit, if that makes sense to you, Ashley.
Yeah.
And she knows this. We argue, but in a healthy way. I love her to bits, and I know she loves me to bits. So, yeah, my wife and my family.
Do you know what? That was really interesting. Thank you. I'm still blown away by the Pontius Pilate one. I'm definitely going to have to catch up with you afterwards and find out a bit more about that, because that is so up my street on the whole. Yeah, I can't even say how interesting that is to me. So your 10 question paper. Thank you so much, Keith Charles. You answered
You're
that
welcome.
with you dealt with it brilliantly. Fantastic. Thank you. So kind of in the time we've got left, we've had some questions. They have been some really interesting questions. The fab Phil Shaw has been on. Lovely Phil, how you doing? He has said if he was a casting director, he'd get Jason Watkins to play you. He played the PM Harold Wilson in The Crown. I haven't seen The Crown. I'm going to have to go and Google him, Phil, but it sounds like a good recommendation.
The funny thing was, they thought when I was in on holiday, they thought I was Hermit Cole, you know, the German, and people go, Hermit, and I just kept saying, yeah.
Just work it. Just go with it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Might be a bag of chips fit it for you. Amazing. Linda's absolutely loving it. Hello, lovely Linda. She's here without fail every Friday. Really lovely to have you along, Linda. Amazing. Lorna is on the ball with the questions. I was going to ask this question as well. Do you have detective spirit guides? Do your spirit guides that work with you in your detective work, are they the same as the guides that work with you for your other mediumship?
Yes. I'm glad you asked. Is it Lorna?
Yeah,
Hi,
Lorna.
I'm glad you asked, because I ask my team, if you like. People keep using this word team, but to the spirit guides. Anyway, I was asking them because there was one of my guides is a monk, and his name is Tobias, and it's a long story. But did you ever see that? Is it Cadfile or Cadfile?
Yeah, I love that.
And it kind of like, that's how it was for me. So he's my go-to man, you know, if I'm getting a problem. But you see, generally, they are the ones that are protecting it for me when I'm doing it, because what my aim is, if I can, if you are dealing, and you've got to remember, if you are dealing with a murder case, for instance, I would love to get in touch with the spirit, because they're the person first-hand witness you want to. If it's a missing person, there's nothing to say that person is anything more than missing. They could be sitting there in the pub down the road and they choose to. So I can't get in touch with, if you like, the subject themselves. So I need a guide, or I need somebody to help me, and that is my Tobias, who was a young kid that was from Spain, and he was put into a monastery because his family could not keep him. They couldn't support him financially and the family. And he went into a monastery and he became a monk. That's the story behind Tobias. Very short, but there's a lot more to it I could tell you about him. But yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. Really great question, Lorna. And I had that one down as well, just to differentiate whether the people that work with you when you're doing DEMS or services, are they the same people that work with you? And actually, it's your kind of gatekeeper, to use the terminology, is Tobias.
He's Tobias. He's my guide who helps me. My doorkeeper, who is the top man, he's Corinda. He was a Mongol warrior. So he's like, if you go to a nightclub, you've got a doorman, haven't you? And he sees you in and out, right? So if you think of it this way, and I hope I'm not talking to people as if they're stupid. I really don't. I'm just explaining how it is for me. And I think simple is always easiest, right? Yeah. So I've got my Mongolian warrior called Corinda. And Corinda is the top man, if you like. So all the other helpers come along, because he's the one who says, sorry, you can't come in today because we're not working that. We're doing so, a bit like a head teacher, and you've got different teachers around you. Sorry.
Yeah. Brilliant. And do you know what? It's a question that comes up pretty much without fail, is around spirit guides. And I think it's just a very human thing, is that we have this real need to know who we're working with. I guess it's about the trust thing, about, you know, going out on a limb for spirit, knowing who's working with us. And every single medium that I kind of have spoken to has got a different perspective on whether there's a team, one per discipline of spirit work, if you like. So it's always interesting to get your perspective too.
Well, a lot of people will forget, and I've got one coming up with Bill Rich, who's doing spirit guides. But one thing that people forget when they talk about who when I start, who's helping me, quite often, Ashley, it's somebody who you're familiar with. So it could be my granddad, who it was when he was the first one I recognized and the first one was around me. But he is just the helper that I met initially, you know, like little Norman could have been my helper that helped me realize about, you know, how I became involved in spiritualism. But we become akin with people. Like, how many people do you know, Ashley, that you were at school when you were 14 that are still around you at the moment?
Yeah.
It's the same with the spirit world. Do you understand? There are people that go around, move on, get on. So we could talk about this all day, but I'm just saying that there are different things that we have.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate getting your, you know, very down to earth, keep it simple approach to it, because it can get horrendously complicated. So we've had
Let me tell you something, Ashley. Can I?
Yeah.
I have spoken to royalty. I have spoken to people on the street. They all understand me. They all understand me, the way I speak, what I say. If you think that you have to have a different approach to people with different standing, social standing, you're losing it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because I can go and talk to anyone. I'm not frightened to talk to anybody, you know, whether it be criminals, whether it be royalty. The people that you speak to, we all speak the same language. We just wear a different body, if you like. You know, we're in a different standing. So don't think you're better than anyone. Don't think you're worse than anyone. Just because you're called Princess Ashley, or whether you're called King Charles, you know, or whether, oh yeah, you're the bloke who's just done 8 years for 12 burglaries or whatever. You know, they've all lost people. Sorry, I could go on about this. So it's like, we are what we are. When you die, it's quite example. When you die, what do you take with you?
Yeah.
You can't take money with you. You know, you can't take your good looks with you. You know, at the end of the day, you take your essence, whether you call it the soul, the spirit, it's what you take with you. And, you know, I've made mistakes in my life. I'm not perfect. You know, I've made mistakes. So I've had money. I've not had money. I've had, you know, friends. I've not had friends because they're not the things and not the things that I wanted around me. So don't think you're any less of a person because you've got one guide or 20 guides. Don't create an image, because people see through an image. People see through an image, because when people start telling you about things, most of it you will find can be bull. It really is. You see, when I ask my friends, I ask questions that people, I want to know what their innocence, feeling that makes them, I want to tell you, I like you, Ashley, or I don't like you, Ashley. Why do you like her? Because she's straight talking. Why? Oh, she's all right, but she does talk a load of tosh. Do you know what I mean? Be you. Be you. It doesn't matter. Just be you.
Amazing. Gosh, what an uplifting for anyone that is watching this, that is inspired on their pathway of development and suffers, as I think everybody does. Some mornings you wake up and think, why am I doing this? Who on earth am I to be sat here doing this? Replay and listen to this, because these are wise words. Just do it your way, because the people from the spirit world need to hear everybody's voices. Because we're all doing the job for the spirit world. Amazing. Thank you. Linda's loving your philosophy. Amazing. And Debbie's really enjoying this talk. Thank you so much, everybody. And lovely Jackie. Hello, lovely Jackie. So what's the future hold, Keith? What's
my future
with you in the next 6 months to a year? Yeah. How's it all?
I'd love to say I'd be really busy, but I think, being honest, I think we've got to go with the flow at the moment, because I think it's going to be another 18 months before, well, we never get normal back, you know, but as normal as we can. To me, what do I want to do? I want to continue. We've seen a new world come now on this computer. It's a new world. People can communicate. I'm going to be doing a few things on here, all for free, because I don't need money. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I do, right? But what I'm saying is, we know that people are having it tough times out there. They are having tough times. If I could do teaching for people for free, I will do. If I can do, I won't do readings. I won't. And I say that, and I tell you before people say, oh, can't you do it then? The truth of the matter is, I have had 2 strokes. I have brain damage. I've had a pacemaker. I could show you if you want. I've had a pacemaker. I've had different health issues, and I don't have the same energy and time that I can spend. I can spend an hour now talking to you, which is fine, and I've spoken to more than one person. If I'm doing a reading, and I don't mind, I will do readings to people, but I find it very tiring for my brain. And if you see, I'll drop over a few words, I say the wrong words, and my wife talking about how good she is, and I just say there's some people that have met Chrissy, they know she's a strong person. But I'm just saying to you, when I had my second stroke, my first stroke, I lost half my sight, so I've only got half my sight. My second stroke, I was on stage and I was in front of 300 people and I just couldn't speak. It was anyway, so I had to learn to speak again. And my wife, I would say the wrong words because I've got damage from here to here. So if something's going from A to B, it doesn't. It goes A, down, up, down. It's kind of like a zigzag. Anyway, Chris and I would get really frustrated because I couldn't say the right words, and I'd get so frustrated. I'd say nasty words like "oh blast," if you get the drift, and I was getting frustrated that I was finding a different word. So she said, Keith, just laugh. And we were in Ireland, and I went up to the hotel room and I asked Christine something, and she is absolutely like I was at Spirit Quest, laughing and joking, She was roaring up, and I said, what's the matter? What did I say? She said, have you got the mushroom? Which was, have you got the key to the room? So my brain shortened it to, have you got the mushroom? So you kind of learn. And even now I'll say things and I think, did I just say orange? And you go, yeah. And I said, I meant egg. She said, yeah, I know what you meant. It's kind of, you get a different language, So what does it say for me? I hope good health. I hope happiness for everybody who's listening. Kindness. Let's be kind to people. If you can't be kind to anybody, don't say nothing at all, and just support your churches. Support your churches. I really feel it's important. And in whatever way they can do it, if you've got to do 20 of these to get people still going, because I'm afraid, I honestly believe we will lose a few centres, we will lose a few churches. Sadly, we will, because people will lose their jobs. And that, the reality is we can be like a phoenix, if you like. We can do it again. We can go. But the truth is always the truth. Don't lose your truth. Don't lose your honesty. Don't lose your sincerity, because it takes you a long time. I'm 70 this month, but for 70 years, I've had to learn my lessons. I have got to get to a stage where I want to be honest. I want to be straight talking. If I don't like you, I say I don't like you. That can be very time saving, but if I say I don't, they say, why don't I like you? I will tell you, and we can discuss it. I'm not just, I don't like you and talking to you. I'm not saying people. I was told once, and I don't mind this mantle. Keith Charles is like Marmite. You either like him or you don't. Well, I don't care, because I know that deep down, I love what I do and I do what I love. And whether it's helping you or helping the King of Sheba or the homeless person that's down the road, that's what makes my heart beat. That's what makes me try and help people. I did it in a career. I've done it, if you like, through mediumship. So you can give me my knighthood now, Ashley, and that's very kind of you.
On that note, well, do you know what? And what I will do afterwards is I'll put all of your links to your Facebook and your website up there so that people can find out what you're up to and kind of stay in touch with you. And then when we are through to the new normal, the other side of wherever it is that we're going, and people are interested in learning, going to some of your workshops or seeing you dem, or coming to Spirit Quest, and experiencing all that has to offer, and all the people that go to that, then they can stay in touch with you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I feel like I've really got to know a lot about you, and you're a really fascinating person. And I'll also put the link to that psychic detective, the psychic cop video that was made by the Philadelphia police. I'll put that on as well, so you can go and do your own research into it, because it's a fascinating area that I haven't had that much experience in, actually, of learning about the psychic detective work. So,
I do them when things are right. I'll come down to your place and do one.
That'd be amazing.
Okay, I will. I'll come down. I'll bring my detective if he's around. Mike King and Jackie Cunningham would know him. I'll come down and I'll do a workshop. How to be. We can do two things, right? We can do how to be a psychic, a medium, and we could do one on psychic detective. How you can use your skills as a psychic, and we talk about real cases. Live cases. Maybe that's the wrong word, but we talk about real cases. So yeah, I'll do that for you.
Amazing. You heard it here on TV. I cannot wait for that. Gosh, 2021 we are looking forward to very much. Thank you for everybody that has joined. Paula, don't worry, you are not late. You can go back and watch this again from the beginning on catch up. All of these videos are stored on Facebook in perpetuity. You can always go back and refresh, because there's so much that happens. You need to go back and listen to it a couple of times. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing hour with you, Keith. Thank you for your very generous time and
You're welcome.
your direct talking. It's been an absolute joy. Thank you so much.
God bless you.
God bless. See you later, everybody. See you next Friday. And don't forget, on Sunday over on the church page, we've got the amazing Angie Freeland, who's doing an extra special service of remembrance, light and thanksgiving, which is going to happen on Sunday, 6:15 over on the church Facebook page, The Light, Spiritualist Church, Weymouth. We will see you on Sunday. If not, we'll see you next Friday. See you later. Thank you, Keith. Cheerio.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.